line from top to bottom, you can click, hold, and drag anywhere you like to get a kind of more of a custom angle. Okay, that's kind of what I want. Who knows what angle that is? I'm just kind of like getting it across there. The other thing to note when you are using this, if I draw a really short one, look, okay, it starts at that green and ends at that dark green in a really short period. So you've got to decide whether you want it. You can start it out here and all the way past. So that absolute kind of dark green and the light green are actually off screen and won't be seen. Okay, or do it really short. Now it's quite similar when we're using a radial gradient. Okay, it kind of sticks itself in the middle there, which is often not what I want. I want to do this kind of more, I'm going to click, that's the center of your gradient or your radial gradient. And I'm going to do something like this. So it's more of a kind of a wafty, I'm going to grab my black arrow, click in the background. Do you get what I mean? It's more of a, it's kind of like a linear gradient. It's kind of a wafting. All right, with it selected, back to my gradient tool, I'll show you a few other things we can change. You can invert it. Say you want, instead of changing these colors, you can click on this button and you can reverse the gradient so it's dark in the middle and light around the outside. Now I've just randomly picked colors. I'm not particularly happy with them. So you can go off and just keep picking them. Or remember in the last video, we looked at something called window and we went to color themes and we could pick different themes from that. Okay, but sometimes it's hard to work out what a good gradient will look like. So there's a cool little site called Gradient. So it's just gradient.com, and the cool thing about it is just somebody's gone through, this company here, Unfold, they've gone through and just picked cool gradients. So on this first page here, I like this one. And the cool thing about it, how to implement it, let's do that. So that's the beginning color, that's the end color. So I click on it, it tells me the color, and it's done in this hexadecimal number, which is a hash and then 6 digits. So they can be numbers or letters. I'm just going to select it and copy it. So I'm using edit, copy. So I collected that, or you can write it down, jump back into Illustrator. What we can do is double click this first house, and we don't have the RGB, but we have this hexadecimal number. You can type it all in there, even with a hash, hit return, and there's that first blue color. So my second color is quite like this one, but I want exactly this. So I click on it, grab that, copy it, back into Illustrator, double click this, and paste it in, hit return, and I've got those two colors. I don't like radial, I'm going to go to linear. Then I'm going to use my gradient tool, drag it out. That's the gradient that I want. Now, some of you are going to ask how I did that, where I toggle between using Google Chrome and then back to Illustrator. You might know already. If you're on a Mac, it's Command Tab. So hold the Command key down, hit Tab, and it just kind of, you can keep tabbing along to find the application. I find it's just good for copying and pasting, Command Tab, Command Tab. On a PC, it's Alt and Tab. Okay, so hold the Alt key down and hit the Tab key, and it will cycle through the open applications. Sometimes I got to catch myself out doing shortcuts in these beginner courses, but yeah, you're probably going to ask, so there it is. One last thing we're going to do is, let's say we find, I'm going to go to the second page and find one, see this one here, there's a lovely gradient that has 3 colors in it. What do I do if there's 3 colors? So let's get started. First color, double click him, paste him in, return. I'll do the N key, N color, it's probably the same as that last one, is it? Slightly different, but now I need one in the middle. All you do is, there's this kind of like no man's land between these two swatches, just click there, okay? And you can add another one. Double click it, jump in here, and grab that middle color. Cool. You can get rid of them, okay? You can click on it and just click, hold, and drag it down to like no man's land, and it just disappears. It's magic. I'm gonna undo, put it back. I love my gradient. Now we've done it to a big rectangle. It doesn't matter what you do it to. You click on this piece, going to close down color themes, and you can start the same way. I can go back to my black and white, start adding colors, or in this case, because I just did a gradient, I can click on that. It's going to apply it. I can grab my, oh, awesome. All right, that's it for gradients in Adobe Illustrator. What we'll do next is we'll start looking at type and fonts. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Hi there, in this video we are going to look at how to create type boxes, how to work with fonts, and how to download good looking fonts from something called Typekit. Let's jump in and get started. Alright, to get started, go to File, go to Open, and in your exercise files there's one called postcard.ai. Open them up, and this is them. All I've done is put an image in the background that I got from Unsplash. It's from Hector Martinez, very cool image. And what we're going to do is look at type. So type and text and fonts, all of that stuff. So over here in your toolbar, grab the capital T, the type tool. And there is 2 kinds of text boxes you can create. If you just click once, it's called a point type box. All it means is that when I type it just keeps on going forever. Okay, so it's really good for, say you're doing some text for this logo or a heading. Okay, just a nice simple text box, just click once. What I'll do is with it selected, I'm going to select it white, so you get the idea. Okay, the other kind of text box is, let's grab our black arrow, click in the background, so we've got nothing selected, grab the type tool, and this is better for body copy. It's called an area type box. You click, hold, and drag. And it just means it's got a boundary, okay, so that the line comes along and breaks and comes along the other side. Again, back to the black arrow, means it's all selected, make it white. So depending on what kind of text box you need, you can draw a point type box and type on forever, or drag out a box to get a specific width that breaks. You can see here if I start typing, okay, you'll see it breaks onto the next line. Now, what is all this stuff that's in here? It's just something called lorem ipsum. It's just, there are actual Latin words that are all mixed up into a random order so that you as a designer can design the look and feel of, say, this postcard without having to use actual text. For me as a designer, often I don't have the text yet, say a copywriter is writing it. And also I'm getting kind of like visual concepts signed off by the client. And we don't want to use actual text because often the client can come back with like grammar and text amends when really you're after more style feedback, not text amends. You can leave it in there for the design, but obviously it gets switched out for the end. So we'll work on this body copy down the bottom here. We're going to kind of put it somewhere over here. And we're going to look at two kinds of text. So two kinds of text boxes and two kinds of text. When I mean text, I mean fonts, okay? This is defaulting to the last font that I used. It's probably for you going to be Myriad. Okay, Myriad is like the default font for Illustrator. I've got lots of Myriad. Myriad Pro is probably what it's going to be. Or Minion. It's probably Minion, actually. Minion Pro. Cool, so let's look at the fonts that are built into your computer versus the ones we can download from something called Typekit. So first up, with my black arrow, with this text box selected, I'm not going to cover, over here in the properties tab, we're not going to cover everything like font sizing, okay, easy. There's the line spacing, okay, so they call it leading in here, okay, but it's just the spacing between the lines. There's the spacing between the characters, spacing between words, spacing between characters, paragraph, left and right line. I'm not going to cover all of this because it's pretty basic word processing. The one thing I will show you is that, see these little dots? So there's the character kind of panel here, and there's these little dots. What could be in here? More options. So you get a bit more detailed stuff. I can make it all capitals, there's subscript, baseline shift, all sorts of other stuff in here. Again, I'm not going to cover it all because it's pretty easy to experiment with. Same with paragraph. We've got left, right, justification. Click on this. There's a bunch of other stuff in there. Okay, but I'll let you explore those ones. What I'm going to do for this, I'm going to drop down my character panel, and you'll see in here, these are all the ones that are built into my computer. Okay, I've got quite a few on my one, but go through, find one that you like. One thing that can be quite useful, especially if you've got a lot of fonts on your machine like me, and you're like, man, I just want to find say a serif font or a sans serif. So a serif font is like this one at the top here. It's got the little serifs, okay, the little extra hanging pieces that are off the edges here. So say I want a good serif font. It's going to cut it down. See this little filter? Drops it down to everything that's on my computer. That's a serif font. You can kind of get a sample of the look of a serif font. Okay, so that's super cool. It's really handy just to go through and kind of cut down the fonts. So I want script fonts. Okay, you can see there is all the script fonts that I have installed on my machine. Some terrible ones like brush script to some nicer ones like lust script. You're probably not going to have all of these, but just know that that filter can be really handy. I'm going to go back to serif font, and actually I'm going to turn it off, go to all classes, and in here I'm going to type in the one that I want. It's the one I already practiced with, Gaudi Old Style Italic. I'm going to probably close in the leading a little bit and get rid of that crazy thing I did there. Put a little full stop at the end of my fake text, and that's going to be my body copy. At the top here, we're going to look at fonts that aren't from your computer, how to download them from something called Typekit. First of all, we're going to put some text. It's going to be all caps. I'm going to put a return in, digital partner. Pretty generic postcard. I'm not sure who we're sending this to, but this M company that we've made that has, or whatever letter you've made it, I'm pretending it's a digital agency. Does some sort of creative work anyway. I'm going to pick a nice big font. Okay, and yeah, there we go. So I want to find a font that's not on my machine. So what we can use is something called Typekit. Now Typekit is a service that Adobe provide, but it's not paid, but it's complimentary if you have a Creative Cloud license. So I'm signed into my Creative Cloud license to use this software, and as part of it, they give me access to this thing called Typekit. So select your type with the black arrow, drop down the font, and there it is there, add fonts from Typekit. It's going to load up a web browser. It might make you sign in. You can see there, I'm signed in, my smiley face there. And Typekit are just fonts that Adobe allow us to download. They're pretty amazing. There's some really cool examples along the top here to kind of get the creative juices flowing. Like, ooh, I want to know what this is. And you can say, get all of these fonts so it downloads. I'm going to ignore that and scroll down because this is the bit that's going to help me kind of find my fonts. So the first thing we can do is, let's be on all libraries, and along the top here, I think it starts with choose sample text, but you can type in, because we know we're going to be using the words I'm going to use caps, digital. Sometimes you pick a font and it's not till you actually start using it in your characters before you realize like, man, that doesn't look so cool. So you can see here, this, I don't probably like it as a font anyway, but you can see it's really weird spacing and in the word your in capitals. Same with that one. I'm going to lower the size preview, so I can see it a bit better. And actually I might go from this grid pattern to this straight line so you can start to see all the fonts before you download them. Okay, you can use them commercially as long as you've got an up-to-date Creative Cloud license. The other cool thing to do with these fonts is this classifications over here. Instead of just searching through millions of free fonts online, you can go, actually I want to show the slab serifs. So a slab serif is considered the same sort of serif as we described earlier. It has these little feet, but it has really quite thick feet. I didn't even click slab serif. That's the one I wanted. Okay, so you can see these kind of like university style big slabby serifs on them. Hand-drawn fonts. You can choose whether they've considered, say you pick a serif font and you want, actually it's going to be for body copy, so you pick a paragraph recommendation. So it's more of a easygoing font, easy to read. Or a heading font can get a little bit more exciting. Oh, Gastromund. There are lots of other options in here. Let's say that I want a thin font because I just decided I want a really thin font so I can fit lots of kind of title text. You can see, cuts it all down, super useful. There's different weights, whether they're full caps or no caps. Okay, there's lots of things you can work around. I'm going to turn all these off, and I've actually got a font that I've already tried to pick. So I'm going to go to the top and search. And this one's called League Gothic. There it is there. I liked it. We're good when I was making up this example for you guys. So once you've found a font, you can have a look and say, oh, yeah, there's some different weights, and there's an italic version. It's by Tyler Fink from the League of Movable Type, like they fight crime. And what we can do is we're going to click on this one that says Sync All. And this is the beauty of Typekit. Kick back, Mac or PC, relax. You get a big tick. Somehow I'm up to 337. That's the thing over here I'm looking for. It says, you've added 4 fonts magically to your computer. It's that easy. Don't know how I have more than 100, but anyway. Let's ignore that. Let's jump back into Illustrator. And in here now, without doing anything else, don't need to close it down. I can type in League, and you can see that's the font that I want. There it is there. I'm going to pick a lot bigger size. And I'm going to play around with the letter spacing, but that's how to get and use Typekit fonts. A little underwhelmed with my font selection now. Look good in my little preview. There we go. All right, so you can skip along now. I'm just going to do some tidying up. I'm going to grab the edge here to kind of resize the text box. Now, probably what I want to do is interacting with the back. I picked an image that had a nice dark background, but I'm going to do a bit more. I'm going to grab the rectangle tool. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to draw a rectangle that covers half of it. I got my smart guides on, so it should tell me where half is. Pretty good. I'm going to give it a fill of black. And this opacity here. See the opacity? I'm going to lower it down. And then I'm going to select it with my black arrow and say arrange to the back to put it behind the text. And you can kind of see what I'm doing there. I'm trying to use it as an element, a design element, but mainly just to darken out the background so we can see my type better. All right, that's how to create text boxes and use Typekit fonts using Adobe Illustrator. Let's move on to the next video where we start looking at some effects like liquefy and distort. All right, I'll see you over there. Hello and welcome to this video where we look at all the liquefy tools in Illustrator. We're going to take text and we're going to make it all drippy and droopy. We're going to make it explode, kind of crystallize. We're going to twirl it, more exploding, make it pucker, make it bloat, more wiggling, and then there's only 7 tools, so this guy doesn't do anything, but the rest of them are pretty cool. Let's learn how to do that now in Adobe Illustrator. To get started, you can open up just a plain old document. I'm opening up a document from the exercise files, okay, called, where is it? Liquify. There you are. Click open. The reason you